Hey everyone, Erin here from the Cardboard Republic. This is our March to be played episode. We had a rough month in February. We did not record a February to be played. It actually wasn't that rough of a month. The month itself was fine, but by the time we had a chance to sit down and record a to be played, it was like halfway through the month already, and then we were like, this is just cheating. Let's pause. Let's start again in March. So that is what we are doing. We're going to look back at our January to be played games, assess how we did then, and then look forward at the titles we are hoping to get to the table this month, which is March. I keep forgetting that, but it's still true. Triplock was our January game of the month. It is a 2-player strategic game where you are racing each other to try to unlock the lock, trying to beat the other person to do the thing, like most 2-player strategic games. We played this. Nailed it. Done. Charterstone has been on this list for a really long time because Charterstone is a legacy game. It is set in this bucolic sort of countryside world. You are building up your... I don't want to tell you too much because it spoils the legacy game, but it's essentially a worker placement with some unique twists. Like I've been saying, a legacy component. We have played this a lot because it needs a lot of playthroughs in order to accurately talk about it. But then you get into this weird bind because the more you play, the less you can talk about it. Because you don't want to spoil it, but you can't talk about it until you play it, at least to a certain point. So like, we're stuck at this point where we've mostly beat it, but we can't talk about it with most people. Like, I can't tell you all of the cool things that I did in this game, which I am not good at it, so they were mostly by accident anyway. But I did some cool things, and I can't tell you about them, but we did play Charterstone. We played it a lot. Check. Pie Town is a game about pie, which seems like something that would have made it to the top of our list, and it sort of did, but we never got it to the table. We also never got actual pie to the table, which is even more disappointing to me. Peak Oil is a kind of satirical-ish take on the oil industry. You are trying to build up your not oil reserves. You're just trying to get the most oil, is what Peak Oil is. But it has this very sleek, modern look, and I was very curious to see how it tackled this subject that is so controversial right now in a way that kind of fit the aesthetic of the game, but also the modern ethos, and also stayed true to being an interesting and fun, like, game with mechanics. Anyway, I never discovered the answer to any of that because we did not get Peak Oil to the table. Right now we're tied. 2 that we played, 2 that we didn't. Let's keep going. Days of Ire is a game set during the revolution in Budapest. You can play it 2 different ways, either as a one versus many, where many players are many players are the revolutionaries and one player plays the government, or you can play it fully cooperatively where all of the players are revolutionaries. I personally did not play this, but Ryan did, and therefore it counts. Check. Roll Through the Ages, Iron Age, is the game that ties us again. We did not play this, even though it is pretty short and pretty simple. You can blame it on me just not liking to roll a lot of dice, but that's also not true, because we all know how I feel about Arkham Horror. Love it. So I don't know why we didn't play this, but it's going to go back into our stack, and we are going to try again next month. If we do manage to play it and review it really soon, we will let you know. It is always on our list. I have no real good excuses. So to recap, that has been 3 games played to 3 games unplayed. We have a tie. We have no tie-breaking mechanism here. The general tie-breaking mechanism in our house is let's go with whatever's easiest. Let's just order pizza. But in this case, we have no really good tie-breaking mechanism. So we're just going to break even on technically January. You could deduct points for not doing one in February, but I'm going to be generous towards us. Let's move on to what we are hoping to play in March. Given our 50-50 record for January/February, we tried to go into March by picking games that we were really enthusiastic about one way or another. I'll tell you what I mean by that in a second. Let's start off with City of Kings. This is a game that tries to be the board game equivalent of an MMORPG. Every encounter you have is randomized. You can play from a ton of different classes, and each of your characters can be customized in different ways. The whole board is randomized. They tell you that there are 10,000, 10 million, 10 something possible combinations. So every single game is different. Ryan is excited by this. I am anti-excited by this. Lately, I haven't been into games that are just that big. I would rather have a smaller experience that's more tailored. But Ryan is intrigued by how all the different pieces will work together and what kinds of stories we can create using this system that is a board game, but also has a lot of scenario and RPG elements. So we'll see. I'm hopeful that it's going to be a game that is put together well enough so we can actually get something coherent out of it. My concern with these is always that what you get won't be as coherent. But it is our indie spotlight game for March. And it made that because overall it seems really, really promising. And I am at the very least intrigued. Santa Maria is a title that has been, no pun intended, making waves lately. It is a game about colonization. It's a Euro-style game. You have these migrant worker dice that you put out on the board, and people are calling out this game and its creators because the theme is pretty problematic in 2018. One, just the idea of having another colonization game. We've done that. Like, we've done every colonization game we really need to do. I'd be happy if we never did another colonization game, but that's only part of it. It's also this idea of washing the game over with this glossy finish, like, oh, they're migrant workers. It's great. Everyone wants to be here. They were slaves. You're representing slaves as migrant workers, neither one of which is really great. But all this is to say, we're going into Santa Maria with a bit of a bias ourselves. We want to play it so that we can review it from this frame of mind, looking at this theme critically and figuring out what else could you have done that would have made this game. I've heard the game mechanically is pretty good. That would have made this game something that we actually really want to keep on our shelves. So, be on the lookout. We're going to be getting that one out as soon as we can because it's pretty topical right now. And yeah, just, I don't know, think critically about the themes you put on your games. That's all. Keeper, bit of a shift. Keeper, if anything, for me, like, has no theme. I mean, I know that it does. It's this kind of farming-ish civilization, the whole Key series, they all fit together. It reminds me of, like, PBS. It's like the PBS version of farming games. And that's cool. Or, I guess, worker placement games, right? That's fine. But they are not for me. They're a little too bland. But Ryan loves them. And a lot of people love them. And I try pretty much every Key series game that I can find because sooner or later, I'm like, I have to understand what it is that makes me not love this as much as I think I should. On paper, I love it. In practice, not so much. Keeper is another, obviously, in the series of Key games, and it has you placing workers on the central board to farm, to produce goods, and to ship and sell those goods. So the kind of catch is that the order that you place your meeple in, your keeple, I know, the order that you place them in assigns them a certain value, and if you place them in certain ways, you might be able to use them again before the round is up, which is a pretty neat concept in a worker placement game. I am really interested in worker placement games that are novel in some way. You know, the genre is pretty tried and true at this point. So anything that can do something differently, I think, is worthy of a spot on this list, at least. And we will see if maybe Keeper is the game that changes my mind. Cosmogenesis is a game that I'm really intrigued by. It's about creating a whole solar system. So you are given a star and you have to create the planets around that star. Eventually you might get to create life on those planets. It reminds me a lot of the game Eons, which we've covered extensively, but not for a while now, in that it is all about the management of going from one item to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and getting that ball really rolling. And it's set in space. And I love space games, of course. So I think that this is one I'm going to like, but I am concerned that it's one I won't be able to completely wrap my head around on the first play, which is fine. That's like every game. It's okay. Our replay game this month, and so that's a game that we've played before that we want an excuse to play again. It's really just for games that we like, that we're like, hey, we haven't played this in a while. We are going to cheat and do 3 games in one. We're going to do the North Sea Trilogy. So Shipwrights of the North Sea, Raiders of the North Sea, and Explorers of the North Sea. And I think that that is the correct order. They are all games set in the Viking Age. In Shipwrights, you are working to build Viking ships. They're all pretty descriptive. In Raiders of the North Sea, you're raiding colonies around the North Sea. In Explorers, you are trying to discover new islands and settle them. The key is that all of these games take place linearly in the same universe, and there is a system that you can use to kind of interlock them. So we're going to be experimenting with that. Hopefully we have, well, not hopefully, we definitely have a convention coming up. We have the Granite Game Summit, and hopefully at the Game Summit, we will be able to play all 3 of these kind of as one. I'm curious to see how it works. I'm excited. You can find us there, actually, if you're going to the Game Summit. Let us know. But yeah, the North Sea Trilogy is, we've played all of them before. We're going to play them again. They're pretty good. And finally, our card pull. So this is Roll Through the Ages. I'm going to put it back into the deck, shuffle, and draw a new card. On that card will be a game that we will try to play and review during the next month. Battle Merchants New Kingdoms. Battle Merchants New Kingdoms is an expansion to Battle Merchants. It mostly adds a new deck. There's some new stuff going on. I can't even remember off the top of my head what this expansion is supposed to do because it's been so long. I do love Battle Merchants though, and I just love the idea of being an NPC in your traditional fantasy video game setting where you are the one selling the swords to all of the warriors. That is going to be the game, the expansion, I guess, that we play and review during March. Give us a couple days on the review. Maybe beginning of April for the review, but we'll play it during March. That's looking forward into March. That gives us plenty of time. Like I said, we do have a convention coming up. I'm hoping we can knock most of these out during the Granite Game Summit. And overall, I think that's a good lineup for us. There are a few games on there that we're playing just to feel them out, at least for me. And there are a few games on there that we're really, really excited for. Let's see how that ends up when we come back next month and tell you maybe some of the games we were just feeling out are awesome and some of the games that we were excited about are not so much. I don't know. You can never really tell. People, you can tell like what kind of games you like ahead of time, but sometimes they will still surprise you. If you have games that you are looking forward to playing in March, leave them in the comments down below. We like to see what you guys are up to. And please like and subscribe to our videos. You can find us at cardboardrepublic.com. We're on Twitter at Cardboard News. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and BGG. And of course, if you like the content that we're putting out here, please consider going over to our Patreon and tossing us like $1 a month. It's not that much. $1 a month. You can do that. All right. We'll be back soon. Bye.